Captain Jaffa's orange grows. Microchips is us. iPhone cameras us. Taco salads us. Domos us. Olive Garden us. White Cloth for us. Sabra Hamas. Hasbara sus.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bad Hasbara,
the world's most moral podcast.
My name is Matt Lieb. I will be your most moral co-host for this podcast.
And I'm Daniel Mate. I'm the other most moral co-host of this damn thing.
Yeah, and we are so excited to have all of you out there in podcast land and or YouTubeville checking out our podcast. Very excited to see all of you once again in 2025, magical year where everything is going great and there's no problems whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. To quote the name of one of my favorite husband and wife hip hop collaborations from 2017 by Jean Grey and Quelle Chris, everything's fine.
Everything is fine. Nothing is wrong. Everything good. If you have not subscribed to us on YouTube, do so now and press the bell. Is there still a bell? I do remember there being a bell at one point, and all of the people would say, click it. It's a notifications bell. I don't know what it does, but I bet it's important. And then also you can subscribe to us on all the podcast apps. Give us 5 stars and review. Go on Spotify. Write a comment at the bottom of this episode just being like, hey, this was a good episode. That helps us out. Makes us feel good. And I think it helps other people see it. Shout out to producer Adam Levin on the 1s and 2s.
You're emotionally damaged, Jewishly.
He is emotionally damaged, Jewishly. And today, our sponsor, once again, our sponsor is my sister. As some of you know from the previous episode that we did, my sister's house burned down in the Eaton fire. Altadena was decimated, my sister's house. Also, her kids' school was burned down. Everything is fucked, and there's still a fire going on as we speak. So I'm trying to help her kind of rebuild. So please donate to her GoFundMe if you can, if you have any money. bit.ly/YonDiana, YonDiana. She is my twin sister, and she has twin girls and a husband. And right now they're living over at my mom and dad's house while they figure out what to do. So please do that. Also, if you're like, I want to donate to some victims of the fire, but I feel like I give Matt Lieb enough money, then go to the Altadena Displaced. There's a Altadena Displaced Black Families GoFundMe directory that someone created. That's at bit.ly/Altadena DBF. It is a collection of different GoFundMes that you can support people who have, lost everything in these fires. It's Altadena is one of Los Angeles's, or at least for years, it was like one of LA's only like large middle class black neighborhoods that existed. It's just kind of like, everyone's hearing about the Palisades fire, and because obviously Steve Gutenberg's house may have burned down, of Police Academy fame, and that's bad too. No one's saying that's not bad, but also there's a bunch of people who maybe you haven't heard of whose house.
I'm just imagining the sound effects guy standing next to him making fire sounds.
Michael Winslow. Yeah. Woo! He's like, don't worry, a fire truck's coming. I mean,
man. Cease all the fires, man.
Cease all the fires.
You gotta investigate that mean Captain Harris. Shout out to producer Adam Levin.
And Daniel, what's the spin?
No special significance to the spin this week, but except one track. I picked this up for real cheap. Giorgio Moroder, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Giorgio Moroder of Danger Zone and Donna Summer fame.
Okay.
Peter King, Shango, great Nigerian tenor sax player that I had to send away for that one. But Jaco Pastorius, the great Brazilian, I think, bass player who played with Joni Mitchell. This is his second album, Word of Mouth. But in terms of tracks that I was thinking of a fitting send-off to the Biden administration, Biden and Blinken. And I was thinking of rewriting, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right by Dylan with some caustic lyrics.
As we are known to do on this podcast sometimes.
Yeah, when we're not feeling lazy. But the song that came to mind and I listened to yesterday was this by Elvis Costello from his Spike album from the late 80s. He wrote a song about Margaret Thatcher called Tramp the Dirt Down. Nice. Where he says, and when they finally put you in the ground, I'll stand over your grave and tramp the dirt down. And it's all about what she did to England over the course of, her tenure and to all the British Isles and the whole society
Falklands
and there's just
the austerity, all the terrible shit that she's known for.
Yeah, and the labor, gutting labor and gutting the social, taking the social out of society. Anyway, this was before the news of this, what seems to be a ceasefire.
Yes,
broke, and but even with it breaking, there's nothing that could happen that would make me feel anything other than
contempt, utter contempt,
just an utter bitter. There's just a bitterness to that song, and his voice is just so he's almost spitting the lyrics out, but there's almost you can almost hear the tears in it too. There's a lot of grief, and it's just like this kind of sickening feeling of it's the only way to send off people like this. So and now Trump's come along and done in -1 week what Biden insisted he was working tirelessly to do for 15 fucking months. Yeah.
I think Ryan Grimm said it best. It was like, wow, had the Biden administration known that Trump would have been able to pressure a ceasefire, they would have actually tried to win the election.
Yeah, exactly. Would have acted like he cared.
Yeah.
Looked alive.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of this is all breaking right now. This possible ceasefire that has.
By the time this comes out, there may be facts that contradict what we're saying. But
yeah, so we're obviously going to get more information as we get it. But just the general story right now is that a ceasefire agreement has finally been made, and Donald Trump is taking credit for it. And it, based on a lot of articles, it seems like he actually might have been the X factor in that he just, number one, wanted to humiliate Biden before he even got into office, and number two, did not give the Israeli support the support that they assumed he would give, and just didn't want to deal with the headache while he was president of having this continuing, not his words, but genocide going on. But here's Biden announcing it earlier today. And here we go.
Good afternoon. Because at long last, I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. For more than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th. More than 15 months of terror for the hostages, their families, the Israeli people. More than 15 months of suffering by the innocent people of Gaza, fighting in Gaza.
Hezbollah.
And soon the hostages will return home to their families.
And at the end, this is not a joke, as he was turning to go at the end of that press conference, I think a British journalist says to him, so do you think Trump deserves the credit? Do you have this clip?
I have this clip. Okay, here it is.
Will hold. I'm confident. Thank you.
Brooks credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
That is absolutely not a joke. But anyway, speaking of jokes, this is probably the worst segue I've ever done. But speaking of jokes, speaking of doing funnies, we got a funny guy here, ladies and gentlemen, an amazing musician, an amazing comedian, an amazing person. We're very excited to have here on the Hasbara podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, please welcome Sally, a.k.a. Reggie Watts.
Sally got a one-track mind.
Sally got a one-track mind.
Oh, you got the fingerless gloves. I see you're ready for a fight.
Well, these are my podcast gloves.
Oh, okay. You put them on before all your appearances, just to let people know not to fuck with you.
Yeah, you gotta have them, otherwise it just doesn't feel like I'm actually doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's the way to prepare. It's an emotional. Okay. Yeah, you look good. You're looking good. You're rocking. You're rolling.
Not know what they're missing. Oh my god, you got the pinky.
Yeah, you've got a painted pinky finger.
Let's podcast.
Let's who's ready to pod?
Reggie Watts.
I got some thoughts about ivermectin.
Yeah, bro.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Wait till you try my new advanced serotonin-based creatine.
I can't wait to try it. Reggie.
Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. We're very excited to have you.
My pleasure. I'm really stoked. Cool, whenever we get a guest that someone's actually heard of,
the comments are usually just like, what, how, why? And that's usually because I asked that very same question. But I wanted to ask you, after 15 months of all of this going on, of the genocide in Palestine, how are you feeling about the possibility of a ceasefire?
Well, I mean, at first I just don't believe it, because that's just like the automatic, pessimistic, I'm like, what's, I'm just waiting for something to go wrong. But I mean, obviously, yes. I mean, even seconds stopped in the fighting. I mean, could probably save many, many lives. So the moment that there isn't fighting to whenever, hopefully, that doesn't end. Hopefully that doesn't end. But if it ever does, then it's like whatever that length of time is, you've saved that many lives. So yeah, I don't know. I feel in the moment. I'm glad for it.
A cautious optimism.
Have you seen the clips of Palestinians in Gaza reacting to it?
No, I have not.
There's just clip after clip of just jubilation and relief and
oh my god,
because
yes,
the fighting just means dying for them.
Yes,
right. So yeah, and also probably there's some defiance in the jubilation too. Like they didn't break us.
Yeah,
they didn't achieve their maximalist aims. We're still here, and yeah, I'm with you in terms of the optimism. If it's that, is very, very cautious, and I think there's reason, based on what I'm hearing, to be worried that Trump has given Israel some back doors to resume after this and that, and there's definitely a lot more bad news coming down the pike. But to be able to say that to be able to watch Palestinians be relieved, both there and in the diaspora, like, and to exhale is just something we haven't had in way too long.
Yeah, God, yeah. I really hope this. I mean, I don't know. This situation is really kind of, as I think it would any person who's hooked into their humanity, like it would affect you every single day. Like you get up and sometimes you just crying. Sometimes just cry for no reason, and or you'll be kind of on a good train of thought, and then it'll just flash back in, and it just like it lives with you because it's happening, and it's happening to all of us, and I don't know. It's weird. I've never experienced, anything like that. None of us have ever experienced. And it's interesting to see how it's handled, through perception and juggling and who's controlling the narrative and all that stuff. It's just mind blowing to me, the lengths that are being gone through to just preserve the pipeline so that revenue is generated. That's all it's about. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. None of the politics or emotional aspects. None of that matters. That's all obfuscation. It's just.
Have you always
keep this going?
Have you always been sort of plugged into this part of the world or this topic, or did something about the aftermath of October 7th? Has it been a learning curve for you? Like, what's been your journey to get to the point where you give a shit, and not just vaguely or generally, but you give a specific shit?
Or at least enough of a shit to go on the Bad Hasbara podcast.
That's correct. Yeah, that's completely correct. I mean, I will say that, you know, I played a gig in Tel Aviv in like, I want to say like 2018, something like that. My bass player at the time, Hagar, who's Israeli, was also happened to be there, and so we like crossed paths there, and she showed me where she went to school and things like that. And you know, and I did the gig, and all I knew was like, oh, it's Israel.
Yeah,
I mean that was kind of it.
Yeah, that's where I am.
That's all they want you to know. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it worked, right? It's like that idea of like, oh, Israel. That's the first time.
That's the name of their sitcom about themselves. It's Israel.
It's Israel. Hey, it's Israel.
It's
like, what are you doing? I'm sitting down in a chair. That's Israel.
That's Israel.
That's Israel. Hey, I know how to make muffins. So Israel.
That's
we'll
so
see you
Israel.
next time. I was just like, all right, that's so Israel.
The most relatable country in the Middle East.
Just like you and me.
Israel. That's so awesome. I'd say the first time I just got kind of like a bad vibe from the organization, the governmental technic organization that is the country of Israel was really Gal Gadot. Like her,
she gave you the Hebrew Jeebrews.
She gave me a little bit. No, I just remember someone writing about like, you know, she's very pro-Zionist, and so but I didn't know what that meant at all. Like I had no idea what Zionist meant, and then and so it was ambiently there, you know, from that, and that was kind of it. And then October 7th happened, and then immediately I was like, oh, are my Israeli friends okay? And are their families okay? And so I reached out to them and was like, hey, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. And then, and that was like for a little bit. And then all of a sudden this reality of what's happening to the people in Gaza, like what's going on and the amount of force that was being used felt really off, like really obviously off. And then I started hearing about, you know, like Norm Finkelstein and, you know, people like that. I started listening to some of their reactions to people who were very pro-Israel, you know, which I assume is Zionist, but I also kind of want to give it a little bit of margin. That doesn't have to mean that you're a Zionist, even in that context. But anyways, you know, someone who is just like, I grew up and, you know, I'm a young kid and I want to speak out for my country, or, you know, or the country that, you know, I have a birthright to, whatever the attachment is. And, you know, and then hearing him just go like, no, we have no, I'm paraphrasing greatly, but like, you know, I will not accept this emotional tactic, you know, this crutch that's been generated, and she's feeling sincerely emotional about it. But why she's feeling emotional is the thing he's not accepting. And it was amazing to see him dismantle that. And then in the wake of that, of course, just learning more about the history of how Israel came to be and like who was responsible for that, you know. And in many ways, we should be really pissed at the UK. Because like they, I mean,
that's my default. I always, whenever anything happens in the world, you go, fucking British.
I mean,
when I was in the UK this summer, I don't know if you've ever experienced this in England. You walk into a place and instead of saying, hi, how are you? Or can I help you? Or whatever, they say, you okay?
Yeah, that's right.
You okay?
You're right. You're right. You're right.
You're right. You're okay. So first of all, if I understand them to be asking me, am I okay? It's a strange question. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it feels weird.
Am I okay? I don't know if I'm okay.
Especially sometimes it sounds Daniel like Mate.
It's sometimes, what's that?
Especially not Daniel Mate. Don't ask Daniel Mate. Be like, are any of us okay, man?
That's right.
I'm Daniel Mate.
And I am not okay.
What is okay? What is normal?
Yes.
I know, but
he wrote a book called The Myth of Okay.
But it sounded to me like they were saying UK. They're just saying the name of their fucking country.
Yeah.
You just walk in the door in Toronto,
USA.
Canada.
Yeah.
USA.
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 Hey,
guy. USA. It's like, that doesn't, what does that even mean? Anyway.
So it sounds like your feelings were the pesky gateway to the truth and reality. The Hasbara, which is in the title of our podcast, which if you don't know, means Israeli propaganda or explanation. They didn't get to you before your pesky feelings could wake you up to something.
Right.
And by the time you looked into the facts, it was kind of too late for you. You were done like dinner.
Yeah, I mean 100%. And I've always been skeptical of large systems, like corporate structures, and government systems, and how they synergize.
Maybe you just never met the right one.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I have my 90% rule, or my 10% rule, which is always leave 10% possibility that you could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe there's one system out there for you that you just didn't know.
I just got my. Well, you know what? I think there is. I will say. I'm just going to say I think there is, because the system is neutral.
Not all global hegemonic orders are alike. Don't generalize.
Yeah.
Right. God, that's so cool. I'm just writing that down. Okay. Done. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think, like, if you have a heart, and also when you hear South Africa coming at you, that was strong. Yeah. And man, and fucking Ireland. Yeah. Are you fucking kidding me? Maybe not fully governmentally, but in general, like I did a game show there recently called Name That Tune with Randy Jackson, is one of the musical director. Anyways, did it in there, and it was a charity thing, and so I did the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund.
Oh, very cool.
And so they announced it, and everybody got up, and it was a standing ovation for like at least like a minute or something like that. And then they stopped and went down. I started to tear up. I was just like, whoa, that's a lot of people to just instantly. I was like, whoa, what a cool, and then people thanking me on the way out, like, people working there were just like, hey, I just want to thank you for it. I was just like, oh, that is so amazing that it has that much of an effect. And because it's so little spoken about. But
anyways, you just talked about like the UK and blaming things on the British. If there's one, group of people that understands that very well, it's of course the Irish, who have, were victims of, the British imperialism and colonization for a long, long time, and also understand like armed resistance and So
they call themselves Palestinians.
Yeah, they do.
Whoa, that's amazing.
When I was there in March, I've never been in an environment like an Irish pub with people singing, in Gaelic or Irish and Arabic.
Wow.
Some songwriter did a hybrid song, and the two languages actually go beautifully together, waving the flags. And you've heard of sister cities, but it really does feel like sister countries.
That's cool.
That's heavy, man.
Makes me want to move to Ireland. It makes me, it's
a cool place.
It seems nice, I don't know.
Weather,
Yeah, the weather kind of does seem like the worst part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst. But, their sweaters are great.
They got nice sweaters. I'm sold.
Mostly for me, I'm like, if a country is known for one thing, I think a sweater is in the top, probably top 10 for
100%. If Israel were just known for sweaters, I don't think there'd be a podcast. And
I don't think they'd be committing genocide either.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be committing genocide.
For sure, because they'd be like so satisfied with this product that they have that brings so much joy to them and the world.
Right, exactly.
I think they'd just be like, no, why don't we just like set up, I bet you Palestinians are really good at, they've got this stitch pattern that we did. Fuck,
yes.
Now we're making a lot, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. They could have.
Imagine that.
They could have had it all. Israel could have been Singapore, as they have said about Gaza all the time.
Oh my God.
Israel could have been Singapore. Yeah. But, you have been one of, I would say, like, relatively few like public figures, especially in comedy, I think, who have, been consistently, I think, posting about it, not in a way that's, obviously you didn't start a podcast about it, but, doing things like promoting the Palestinian Children's Fund, as a charity. You did a video in your car recently, the right before you played Red Rocks, which I thought was really powerful because it could tell you were vulnerable and having a lot of feelings, which is something we've been known to do when we're not reactively being defensive towards having feelings through a guise of bad puns. We also have feelings. So I wanted to play some of that just because you clearly had some thoughts.
I'm really bummed about what Israel is doing right now. Just woke up with a lot of heaviness. And I'm not proud of the human race right now. I know I know there's a lot more good in the world than there is bad, but that shit's bad. It's got to fucking stop.
I watching, the entirety of that video, I could see a little bit of you guarding yourself against what was inevitably going to be a sea of terrible comments from people. Because, at one point you do mention that people they've just started on comments, have just started to just not, without even pretending to know you, just saying awful things. I just want to ask you your experience of what it's been like being one of the few people that that people know who has talked about their feelings about this publicly.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like I don't notice anything. I guess I haven't noticed anything too substantively different in my life. Only that I have some stronger friendships because of it. Yeah, there's kind of this extra level of recognition, solidarity. Also, I have a new girlfriend. It's going to be almost a year, in over a month or something like that. And she's like super concerned about issues like this, like very left, and her heart is in a really amazing place, and she's a lawyer, and she specialized. She went into it for union side labor law.
Very cool.
And things of that nature. So equity and things of that nature, amongst friends, especially new friends from Berlin and a few other places as well, has really strengthened us because of the issue. And Peaches and I went to a pro-Palestinian, rally.
Peaches?
Yeah, Peaches.
Peaches?
Uh-huh.
What else is in the Teaches of Peaches?
Teaches of Peaches, yeah.
Wow. I love Peaches.
Teach their own.
Yeah. Give Peach a chance.
Each one, Peach one.
Yeah. All we need is Peach. She was just like, we were having coffee one day, and she's like, I'm going to this Palestinian, pro-Palestinian rally, and she's like, if you want to go, and I was like, yeah, fuck it. So we just grabbed a car and went, and and it was small. It was kind of anemic, but I'd say there was probably 50 people there or something like that, maybe a little bit more. And then there's this row of cops, at the end of the perimeter where the next street was. And
this was in Berlin, you said?
Berlin, in front of the Reichstag.
Yeah.
So, it was, nothing happened. The police didn't come in and, whatever, but there were people that were spending the night. So there were tents up. Yeah. And, and that's always random when the police decide to be true Gestapo. Yeah. Because their tactics are fucking insane. You see the brutality.
They're doing it for us now, man. They're doing it for us.
Yeah, totally. That's those doing a little harder. Yeah. They're doing it harder because we're not quite there. We're close, really close.
You should be saying Danke schön.
Yeah, totally.
You should say Danke to us.
Ungrateful Jew.
Look at you. No, it's okay. Just punch them in the side real hard. Yeah, like that. Yeah, and they won't even know, no bruising. Yeah. That way they'll think twice about doing it again, even though statistics show that doesn't work at all.
Love yourself, Jew. Where's your national pride?
Where are your papers? It's I don't have any papers. It's all digital.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I mean, especially in Germany, and we've covered this a few times on the show. Not enough, but in terms of the amount of repression that's happening.
Enough for me.
Yes, enough for Daniel.
And that's a lot. That's a lot.
It's way too much for him. But yeah, the amount of repression, when it comes to protesting, pro-Palestine protesting in Germany is like, this is insane. And so there being
insanity.
50 people is probably a lot for them.
Oof. Yeah, it's crazy how like everything else in Berlin is pretty sick.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Like almost everything else is pretty fucking great. And I'm sure if you lived there, you'd have a couple other things you could point out. But from the outsider who's, spent 8 months in the last 2.5 years there, I would say, everything else except for that, because I never really had an issue with police. I've never had a run in with police. I've never felt weird about police. I've even seen skinheads at shows and never had a problem with them. I always say hey to them.
Yeah.
And weirdly, they do say hey back, which has oddly been, I've had a history of that with like being right next to white supremacists. And
where you say hi?
On a bus in Seattle, a guy with like a swastika on his neck and like wearing like, fucking Doc Martens.
Sure.
And fucking the whole thing, right? And just like the bomber jacket, shaved head. And I remember like he looked up at me and I was like, and he goes, and I was like, and then I kind of realized most of the people like that are in those types of supremacy camps or whatever, really what they're lacking is genuine respect.
Yeah.
They don't have it. Yeah. And so it goes like it gets channeled into on top of the indoctrination. It's like that adds to it. And so you get these like turned off kind of like, I'm doing this because this is my job and these are pests.
Yeah,
but there's that deeper longing for human connection and
brotherhood of some kind.
Brotherhood, exactly. Like
yeah.
And if there was generalized brotherhood in our world, maybe they wouldn't need the Aryan kind.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's inefficient. It's not an efficient form of life, like way of life. It's not efficient,
and it's self-destructive. It's completely self-destructive,
totally. like almost guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's the parallels are obvious to me at least between that and kind of what Zionism is. Just the kind of like turned inward nature of like we don't need anyone else but us. Fuck the world type attitude, which has led to nothing but 7 different types of horrors for the last 15 months at least, not to mention up until the creation of the
60
state.
Odd before that, or the 70
yeah, 70 odd. I mean, just ethnic cleansing and occupation and apartheid.
But if what Reggie is saying is true, then y'all gonna make me reconsider my policy of shunning Zionists contemptuously up in here.
I think it's different on. I think it's different on an individual basis. I do think that, like my thoughts on treating any human being in real life is always with respect and always a little bit of caution. You never,
and maybe some creativity too.
Yeah,
based on what the moment allows.
Sure,
100%.
But if I'm on a podcast, and I'm talking about people who have the power in a system, then I'm going to talk shit. And if my thought in general is that if people being mean to you on the internet, like if it's if there's a real world issue like a genocide, and your response is like, well, I hate genocide, but not as much as I hate people being mean to me on the internet, then you're the problem and you deserve scorn. That's my thought.
Yeah, no, sure. I wasn't talking about reconsidering how we do things here. It is more, I think early in the post-October 7th world, I made a bit of a name for myself on Instagram, like engaging with individual people, doing debate. Yeah. I did a debate with an active duty Israeli reserve soldier who was sitting on a fucking base right outside of Gaza, and it nearly destroyed me. I went for 3 hours with the guy. The guy is an expert propagandist.
Yeah.
I think I did pretty well. I held my own. I held serve, but it was a lot. And there were a lot of people being like, why are you even engaging with these people? Would you do a public event with an active duty Nazi soldier, And then there's people who don't have that level of power. They're just deeply indoctrinated. And I thought I could, the spectacle of publicly on social media back when I had the energy for that kind of thing, which these days I absolutely don't. Taking people through how you do what Norm did, say Norm Finkelstein in that video you're talking about. Like, I wanted to perform that kind of service. And Norm's not the kind of person who's like, I won't debate a Zionist. He goes on to Piers Morgan with Shmuley Boteach or anyone. Anyway, I'm just saying, it's nice for my soul to make contact with you, Reggie, who you're not exhausted and jaded and so sectarian that you're just not going to be able to be human to somebody, and your humanity clearly has a positive effect on someone who other people might say don't bother.
Right.
And you're saying maybe bother.
Well, at the very least, say hi.
Or say hi.
Yeah.
Before they say hi.
You're just like, I mean, like, I think I don't know. I guess I've told this story once before, but it was in Bolzano, Italy, which is in the I don't know, the Alps somewhere, and so it has like this mountain ski town kind of vibe. But there's an arts school that's up there as well. And so I was doing a thing with some performance artists for the opening of a new wing of an art school, and so we got to choose rooms and do these cool installations. But one night we were all meeting for dinner in town, and so we left our dorms, me and a friend, and we started walking up the street, this cobblestone steep street in this mountain village, and there's a young man kind of walking fast, like kind of skinny young man, like walking fast in the opposite direction as we're going up, and then I could tell there was a nervous energy about him. And then at a certain point, just before we're crossing or whatever, he's like, "Heil Hitler," and he crosses by, and then like I just turn around and go, "Heil Hitler."
You just heiled right back. Yeah.
I was just like, "Hey, Heil Hitler," and I love that shit. Because it's a bunch of bullshit, and like they know it, and it's like if you react in the way that they want you to react, you have to act asymmetrically. It's like it's a hack. It's a social hack that needs to be happening, and I think we don't necessarily approach it that way as much. But I think for me, it's like the two things is efficiency through hacking. And so and so that's the way I think of it. I don't want to give those people what they want.
We call it the irony dome. That's what we call it here.
Nice.
You use satire and also irony to kind of like take the wind out of someone who's clearly looking for a reaction.
And you for a living, or at least you, partly what you've made your name on is doing the kind of comedy that make people go, was that a joke? What did he like? Incongruity.
Yeah.
You're hacking you're hacking comedic expectations. So is it like second nature to you to respond that way?
For sure. Yeah. Cause I think it's fun. Yeah. And if I have enough time to analyze the situation, like luckily I can process things pretty quickly. So if it's like, here's a potentially dangerous situation, someone's coming at you in a certain way, and then I'll kind of like recognize that, and then I'll just go like, how can I completely decontextualize it? And then I'll do something, that I think is that. And oftentimes it's the best thing you can do, because it just reminds someone that, oh, you're here. You've blown past all of your little tactic circles, your tactic encryptions, and just like went straight, just bypassed all of them and say like, hey, I see what you're doing, and this is ridiculous, and also I kind of don't give a fuck. And so, but I see you. That's kind of the thing. So sometimes when people get hit that way, they'll be like, oh, fuck, you see me? Okay, hey, what's up?
Hi.
It's like, hi. Like, that's what I thought. Get the fuck over here. The fuck is wrong with you? What are you doing?
Get the fuck over here. Give me a hug.
Give me a hug. Stop this nonsense.
You big dummy.
I mean, if we can, why not? Like, bring people along. If like, give them a little bit of a chance. It's my thing. Like, obviously, it's situational. But like,
of course.
If you give someone just like just a little bit of a buffered chance, you can figure it out pretty quick. Like, is this person like gonna see something, which means that they'll probably they have the opportunity to see more later, and then that will grow and grow and grow and grow, and then they might come out of their shit or whatever.
Yeah.
I find that very moving, and it reminds me of a way that I like being that I don't feel I've had access to being in quite some time. And you know.
Well, I mean, you've kind of isolated
powerful.
a little bit more,
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand. It is powerful. I mean, that's why I think it's demonstrative in the world. You know, that's why touring is great. It's great. My partner can come with me on tour now, and so she'll be with me on tour, which is really sweet. That's usually the hardest part about touring, and so you know we're figuring out a way to tour together, and so doing that. I feel it's important for me because I think the thing what I love, like one of my favorite Egyptian gods is Anubis. And you know, and all the analogs, you know, through different cultures or Hades.
Who's your second favorite?
I guess Charon.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say Charon. I'm more of a Charon head.
I'm more of a Charon guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or like the ultimate, the Sumerian goddess Erishkigal, who like many cultures have like just kind of morphed into their theology.
Yeah, sure.
But she was like the goddess of the underworld.
I've always been more into Gozer when it comes to Sumerian.
Oh my god, the Gozerian.
Yeah, I love Gozer.
The Gozerian.
Yeah, he's a Gozerian. It's important. Yeah. It's important that
some people don't know where he's from, but he's a Gozerian.
That's so true.
Who happens to be named Gozer.
You think of one of the Gozers in your life, and you're just like, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Which one?
Gozer the Gozerian? I hereby command you to.
There is
Remember when
no
this used to be a Ghostbusters podcast, Matt?
Yeah,
every episode I was doing.
That's true. For a while, when we were more optimistic on this podcast.
But tell us about Anubis.
Yes, please.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll tell you all about Anubis.
The Anubissian.
Yeah, he's Anubissian. He's like Anubis. What I liked about Anubis is that he was the god of the underworld, and so he had the ability to move between the world of the living and the dead, and fluidly, and therefore was able to like explore the full spectrum of beingness or whatever. So I always thought that was so cool. And then as my life has gone, that's kind of how I am socially. Like I'll go to a weird underground rave, you know, with like 30 people and some DJ that no one's ever heard of, you know, and just have a fucking blast and, you know, support an underground artist, you know, that is doing work in a weird tunnel or something like that. And then all the way to, you know, being, I don't know, invited to go to Richard Branson's island and like hanging out with Richard Branson and
Hell
like,
yeah.
you know, and other like, you know, like amazingly like Brian Eno and like what, you know, like these like cool connections.
Another good Palestine advocate.
Yeah,
Yes.
Brian Eno.
And I should have mentioned at the top that Elvis Costello also is.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that's hot. That makes me so happy.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, man! Like, just have some fucking balls. You know, it's
know.
like it's not that hard, and it's also totally, especially for musicians, it's on brand.
Yes.
Like you're expected to say shit like that. It's like you would do it just for the image. So why not just do it for real and you get the image? You know what I mean?
I know. You'd figure, but we've covered the amount of like anti-BDS, anti-Palestinian like musicians who have surprised us, and every time it's just like a gut punch because you're like, but you're so good at everything else.
I know. I mean, I seriously quite. If anybody who justifies, it's one thing to be apathetic. But when someone comes to the defense of something, or like saying like, well, you know, you should also consider, you know, like that kind of a thing, which I get. I love considering all the angles, like why things exist and how they got to be where they are. I love that. I think it's super awesome. But at the same time, there are quick barometers as to like the likelihood that you're going to really vibe with somebody.
Right.
And, you know, and genocide is one of them. You
know,
like
it's one of the quickest barometers.
I don't know if it is. You're like, really? I can see maybe in the first month.
And it shouldn't take you so long to consider that one. Like all things considered, sure.
Yes.
But let's keep it moving.
I know. They're just like, no, absolutely not. You're like, yes, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so what were we talking about?
Pizza toppings. Go.
Yeah, totally. You love pizza, right?
But yeah, during the last 15 months, you talked about friendships growing stronger. Did you have any of them fray because of this? Were there some? Yeah, yeah. Were there some people who kind of went off the deep end? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a friend in the UK who I would always like let them know when I'm in town and those things. But then they started like hitting me up on Instagram, direct messaging me about like these other points of view. And like that's
it's always
not
the
true,
fucking
that
Instagram DMs, dude. It's always
crazy.
So many
like,
friendships have died in fucking Instagram DMs.
Well, I guess because it's fresher. I guess they just got off like a really cool scroll and they're
right,
really
exactly.
And
they're like, I just collected 6 or 7 sources, all from the Shirion Collective, Lions of Israel.
And I'd have to really look hard. I mean, there's not that much out there on it.
Yeah.
It's like, really? There's not that much out there on it? You mean those subjects haven't been formally studied and put forth in official papers from the academic point of view?
Well, not by any trtrustworthy sources.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm supposed to trust the UN?
Yeah. We don't trust the UN. Yeah. I mean...
They're untrustworthy.
They're untrustworthy. That's what it means. Yeah, that's what. I mean, the whole propaganda thing, like the just also just like what's happening in Lebanon, as well, and having many Lebanese friends, and I'm like, well, how is the world doing this? How are we continuing to, and slowly some countries are like, okay, that's not cool. We're going to sanction, or whatever, or we're not going to let you use our port, but it's taken so incredibly long. Like it just shows you that it's either looking at predictive models, and like adjusting world economies and logistics routing, and like they're looking at that. And they're just kind of looking at like, how do we make things efficient? It's like, well, the bottleneck's here. It's like, can we send in some white blood cells and clean out that area so we can get that flow going? I think there is an element of a clinical corporate point of view that they're just making cold decisions and they're not connected to it on the boots on the ground, obviously. But they're just making these decisions, and because also human well-being is not one of the value systems. I mean, like that are, it's not valued in capitalism, in current capitalism. Yes. It's not one of the quotients that's a part of the ingredients that then make it more desirable or less desirable or profitable, right? Yeah. So, so when that's missing, now you're going to get these problems. But it would be more efficient for it to include human well-being, because then you'd get a more full spectrum, holistic approach to making decisions, and you'd be able to know if something actually is working or not. Yeah. And so, but it's mind-blowing that the parasite of greed is so finely tuned and nuanced to really like make people believe that what they're doing is important and necessary. And these boards, which are disconnected from the product, and they just want to see the exponential growth of their or the shareholders, and the board, but they just want to see their profits increase, and so they're extra disconnected, and they're the motivators, and they decide the fate of leaders in corporations and corporations themselves. So everything is disconnected and fragmented. No one's connected to human well-being, and it's done, and that system has been generated on purpose to be that way, because humans, whoever it is, cooperatively are saying, this is the most efficient way to get the most amount of income. And without actually thinking about it, like the loss of human lives, the inequity is like brain trust it's not being used. You have all these human beings that have really cool, unique ways of seeing things that are not being allowed to participate in the system. Instead, they're in pure survival mode. So like our loss of brain trust, the loss of like goodwill and positive energy and excitement, about being human beings and being in community and helping one another. And when our community is happy, we feel happy, and we can still have like fun, cool, dumbass shit. But we can just do it in a way that we're supporting each other and one another, respecting our individuality, but also living collectively. And so, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I think talking about the people who have been like DMing you and trying to, give you the other perspective. I would say that at least in my experience from what I've experienced, they do think that they are helping. And what they think they are fighting against is the exact same thing that we think we're fighting against, which is like the disinformation, the idea of like, you're being fed lies and whatnot. And so it becomes kind of like, two people.
Like a shadow game?
Yeah. You're just like two people calling each other the pot and calling each other the kettle. Both are both the kettle and the pot, at least according to the people who DM me and be like, no, the actual truth is that, everything that you're saying is genocide is not a genocide, and the actual genocide is happening against the Israeli people. And so you have to like, you have to try to parse their own reality, and then at the end it's just like, you talk about efficiency, it's completely inefficient for every person try to deprogram them one by one.
Man,
especially when it's so easy for them to write you off completely. So have you had people just write you off completely?
Well, I've had to kind of write them off because I think they really want to continue trying to get me to see that side, I have a Russian friend who is not Zionist, I wouldn't say. He's very much his own person, but the way he views it is kind of like a mixture of like the Russian viewpoint and kind of a German kind of element to it. So it has like there's like a little bit of a detachment to it, and it's kind of along the lines of resources, like being conscious of resources and maintaining certain balances of power in the world. Like,
that's
very
weird.
Interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting.
It was like, the status quo exists because it is at a perfect balance. That's kind of what
to maintain that perfect balance. I mean, and again, I'm paraphrasing. If he was on, he'd probably be like, "No, I'd mean to say," he would. It would. You'd probably gain some interesting insight. But anyways, so it's good to have at least a friend who's not he's not really a Zionist. He's actually somewhere in the middle. Okay. He's like a contractor level. In I don't know. That's the vibe. Anyways. But yeah, I mean, the people who are like doing that, and they're very, very, they've got like all the books ready to go, like to send you the links ready to go. Yeah. You're like, here's your package, like Israel's like, here's your personal friend guide, and here is your larger social network plan.
It's a press kit. Everyone's got their press kit ready, and they're like, here's my electronic press kit of the right books to read and the right people to quote. Jesus. And it's definitely been a bummer in terms of personal relationships for a while. But also, like you said, relationships have grown a lot stronger with a lot of people in my life, and I met people.
And you met a few cool people.
Yeah, I met one or two cool people.
You met a one or two.
Yeah, shout out to producer Adam Levin, and also Daniel Mate. Sure, you're on the list.
Yeah, we all met because of this shit.
Yeah,
that's sick.
It's pretty sick.
Do we need a break, Matt?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a real quick break. Everyone stick around, listen to these commercials.
Wonderful advertisements.
They're probably selling you good things that you need.
Yes.
Reggie, I'm betting you can do a really good ad man voice.
Yeah.
I love.
You do ad work? Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I love it. All day long, I'm just like, you can't ask for it by name, but 3 out of 5 people would agree. This particular hair cream is the way to go. With anti-retinol conditioning agents, you and a group of friends can enjoy a wonderful vacation at 8 of our locations.
That is incredible.
Just like bullshit like that, just all day long. I'm just like, someone says something, but they say they mess the word up and say, new Splurve, because it's larger and more softer than before. I can't. It's just in my head.
What I've noticed, especially like in the 2010s into the 2020s, there's a new thing in advertising, which is a kind of snide voice, like
that's right.
Like so many advertising, like it's just what we do. Or like,
Yeah.
I'm just imagining that person in the studio recording the thing and the director being like, can we get a little bit more like,
can you be more bitchy?
Snot? Yeah, can you be more bitchy about the hair cream?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like add just like a dash of weasel in there. Thank you.
Just a little weasel.
It's just a little weasel. There's nothing better than what you think life is supposed to be about. So why does it even... It's just like, yeah, oh, I totally relate. Tell me more. I trust you.
I love what I think life is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
So stick around and listen to what life's supposed to be. We'll be right back. And we're back. This is Bad Hasbara, world's most moral podcast. We're here with Reggie Watts, a.k.a. Mustang Sally. How you doing? You slowing that Mustang down?
I haven't.
Shit.
Yeah, but it's but I mean I plan to.
You plan to
more of
eventually?
a Sally Struthers vibe.
Way more Struthers. Yeah, way more Struthers. I rather the Struther. That's what I've always said.
Not without my Mustang. I don't know. What's that?
Struthersian?
That might have been Sally Field. Guys, recently the show 60 Minutes, which is on one of the networks,
Why
CBS.
don't they just call it an hour?
Nah, man. You can't do that. 60 Minutes. It
is 60 minutes. Because the other one takes 60 minutes of your time. It's like saying 1999 instead of 20.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it's like. We all know it's 20, but come on. Let's get more numbers. More numbers better.
Sounds more reasonable.
Yeah, it does. I got 60 minutes. Who's got an hour?
Reminds me of more hours.
Jesus Christ, not enough hours in the day. Oh, this is only taking 60 minutes? So 60 minutes. 60 Minutes is a news program that has largely ignored sort of the last 15 months of what's happening in Gaza, with the genocide and all. And
but apparently they kept some stuff on file.
They kept some stuff on file. There were a few, ex-Biden administration folks who went on 60 Minutes recently and talked about what's happening. So kudos for them airing it at all.
They aired some footage from May of last year.
Yes.
This month. That's what I found so galling. It's like in this newly released footage from May,
from an interview
by us, why the fuck have you been covering it, 30,000 human beings ago?
Yeah.
Because of Grandpa.
Yes, because old Grandpa Joe, he's a sick man, and so they finally did release it, and the reaction on the Hasbara side, on the pro-Israel side, has not been good. I have a video that someone sent, friend of the show sent to us, where this is just a breakdown of what happened with 60 Minutes. Here we go.
We need to talk about this 60-minute segment, the Gaza policy, because it is a masterclass in anti-Israel propaganda. I have pulled 3 of the most shocking and egregious clips from high-ranking officials within the Biden administration.
Look at that nice map of Palestine around her neck.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's a full map.
She wants all of it for the Palestinians?
She's definitely.
Wow.
She's definitely.
And those eyes.
Yeah, those eyes that
the
say.
The laser eyes.
The eyes that say, trust me.
Trust me, but because I'm mesmerizing you. But what if I realize that's what you're doing?
Tropes. You're doing tropes. You're doing tropes.
Tropes.
Trope. Actually,
yeah.
All right. Here we go.
2 of the State Department officials interviewed here have ties to CARE, the Council for American Islamic Relations, whose head praised the October 7th massacre. Coincidence? This is who has been making decisions on behalf of our...
So just real quick, to frame CARE as some sort of like pro-Islamic terrorist organization is absolutely insane. Like CARE is a Muslim and Arab civil rights organization. Like that's what it is. And they have, a fraction of the funding of any other civil rights organization that is pro-Israel. So just so people know, care is good and not bad. But
our country.
And
Scary stuff.
And also, she showed have ties to what ties.
Right,
And
exactly.
and the clip or the screenshot she showed of the head of CARE, this is all this guilt by association. She's saying, praising the massacre of October 7th. Well, the Chiron, the subtitle said something about them throwing off the shackles of...
Right.
To say that on that day, those people who broke out of that concentration camp were throwing off shackles is not praising a massacre.
No, there were...
I don't know what else he said, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet he did not praise any massacres. I'm willing to bet he alluded to or included in his response to it the fact that
Palestinians are shackled.
That Palestinians are shackled.
Yes.
And this was a prison break. Whatever happened after the prison break, it was a prison break.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfectly healthy. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
10 days after the October 7th attacks, Paul became the first person in the Biden administration to publicly resign in protest.
The moment of October 7th was a moment of incredible worldwide solidarity with Israel.
That's true.
And had Israel leveraged that moment to press for a real, just, and lasting peace, I think we would be in a very different place now, in which Israel would not be facing this increasing isolation around the world.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry at this. A chance for a real, just, and lasting peace. After Hamas butchered 1,200 innocent Israelis and kidnapped over 200 people and declared war on Israel, what kind of alternate reality are we living in here? How does peace happen with a terrorist organization that literally has a charter calling for the destruction
I'm sorry. It still does not. It does not have that charter.
of Israel?
No.
This wasn't a chance for peace. This was a moment where Israel had no choice but to respond to an unprecedented act of terror. No sovereign nation in the world would sit back and let their people be slaughtered without fighting back, suggesting that Israel should have just done nothing. That is not peace. That is suicide. And the next part is
so literally the idea. I love the framing of someone saying like Israel. Everyone was on Israel's side after October 7th. They could have leveraged the goodwill in order to create some sort of lasting peace. What that means is, I'm sorry, it's State Department speak for they could have surreptitiously done some sort of annexation or they could have done more apartheid if they had wanted to. They could have continued the apartheid at an even stronger rate. But instead, what they chose to do was full-on fucking guns blazing genocide. What they said was, no, this is our chance in order to do ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip. That's literally, the guy is not out there going like, if they had only just said, oh, Hamas is right, and then made Hamas the Israeli government and ended Israel, then it would have been fine. No, the guy is literally just saying everyone was on Israel's side until they decided to do war crimes on TikTok.
You were winning the PR battle.
Yeah.
Until you went full
on
psycho.
TikTok. It's crazy.
Started dressing up in the lingerie of your victims.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you got to not do that. Or at least keep it private.
Jesus Christ, these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
even more sick and twisted.
The acting director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Brett Holmgren, told 60 Minutes that anti-American sentiment driven by the war in Gaza is at a level not seen since the Iraq War, and that groups like al-Qaeda and ISIS are recruiting on that sentiment, issuing the most specific calls for attacks on America in years.
Protests began erupting in the Arab world with people burning American flags.
You believe that this has put a target on America's back, you've said.
100%.
Those are strong words.
Yes.
I gotta get this straight.
I'm sorry.
I can't. Oh, she's got to get it straight.
She's got to get it straight.
That's cool because I was super confused about it.
Yeah. Everything that was said was not straight enough. I need... You know what?
Everything that was said is just decades upon decades of consensus among anyone who studies foreign policy.
Yes.
That understanding that,
America and American security is put at risk vis-a-vis our continued allegiance with Israel as a country that's going to do whatever it wants. I mean, literally, this is the general consensus. Everyone knows that the risks at this point, whether or not they outweigh the benefits of having our own, imperial colonial outpost, is like, sure, you could still debate that, but
yeah,
I don't think
say it's worth having planes flying into American skyscrapers every 3 or 4 decades or whatever.
Yeah,
but at least take the memo that part of what drives the hostility towards your empire is the imperial ways it acts all over the fucking world.
Yeah. There's a plane nearby that I think is going to kill one of us, but I muted my mic to see if it was me, so I'm going to be okay.
No, it's me. It was a helo.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as the helo. Let's try to get this straight.
Israel
Let's hear.
Defending itself after the worst terrorist attack in its history is somehow to blame for radical terrorism in America. What kind of twisted logic is this?
It's actually very straightforward. You see, what happens is called blowback. What happens is that America is...
That's not an Arabic word. That's a U.S. military word.
Yeah, that's a regular American as apple pie word, blowback. Yep. And so what happens when our foreign policy is such that we are so imperial that other countries around the world are like, hey, you guys are bad for us. And then people want to punish the center of the empire rather than its, proxy, like Israel, Like, sure, Israel's fighting, but they're also like, well, who's the main funder? Who's the biggest thug on the block who's supporting an apartheid state? It's the United States.
It's us.
Hey, what's up?
And this 60 Minutes report, to its credit, talked about how, and it was the footage from Gaza in May with children building makeshift tents and making playthings out of, weapons casings, and you look right on them and it says "Made in Michigan" or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just, and this.
How do you expect people all over the world to respond when the only construction materials available to them are the casings from the 2,000-pound bombs that leveled their entire neighborhood, and it comes from your country,
and it says the name of the country. It says who did it.
It's insanity. I mean, it really is. It's but the one thing I'm heartened by is that it's like a pendulum, right? Like the pendulum can only go so far.
That's true.
And the more that you go up, the more force you're building.
Yeah.
So at some point there will just be tolerances where it cannot be sustainable anymore, and it will swing.
Yeah. That's
that's one thing I think about, but like being active, in whatever way I think I can be active, in that is it's just like something I'm always thinking about. I'm always thinking about like how do you create like pragmatic, easy to absorb, like little phrases, little things that kind of like make people kind of come out of their usual grooves or whatever, so that they have space to think for a little bit conceptually.
Might change their headspace in some way.
Like they realize like, oh, when you're conceptualizing and you're sharing ideas with people, you feel better. You're communicating ideas, and you're in a community where other people are considering your ideas and you're considering their ideas. So
I feel like this post is almost the antithesis of that in a way. It's just
100%. If you want to like, you show this to someone, if you didn't have any videos to talk about what you want to talk about, just send them this video and just say like, do everything the opposite.
Exactly.
Let me get this straight. You want me to think about this tragic situation in a way that might bring some clarity to it?
Right, exactly. Wait, you're trying to tell me that there's a reason why terrorists do terror? Oh, now I've heard everything.
Are they seriously saying that Israel shouldn't protect its citizens because other radical Islamic groups might feel motivated to terrorize more? That is insane. Terrorists don't need an excuse to commit terrorism. That is what they do.
No, that is literally what terrorism is. That by definition,
of course it needs an excuse.
The political reason behind it is the excuse. It's just that's.
I mean, I mean, who's like? Is there any crew that's just pure terrorist?
Yeah, I know.
So, you know what I mean? Like
I was watching
all they
the
care about is
Warriors
terrorizing. You know, like that's it. They're not. It's not political. They just want.
I think they're called the Gremlins.
The Gremlins.
Yeah, you're right.
But
yeah.
With them, there still is a reason. It's you got them wet, or they ate after midnight. There's still a reason. I was watching the Warriors, the movie The Warriors.
Of course.
And the
Warriors come out and play.
The rogues, the ones who actually shot Cyrus, they're kind of what she's describing, you know, because they ask, like, why'd you shoot Cyrus? And he's like, I just kind of like doing stuff like that. This is the type of movie-ass black and white thinking that is so rooted in Islamophobia. Where it's just like terrorists, they don't need a reason. They just see you and they kill you because they're born bad. You know how some people are just born evil? And it's like, no, I don't know that.
No, I don't know that at all.
I have never considered that. Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
And of course, we're miles away from even being able to consider the possibility that she might realize that the word terrorism applies much, much better and much more copiously, prodigiously, and fucking
King David Hotel.
Oh
yeah,
boy,
absolutely.
Who brought terrorism to that region?
That was the first label in writing. That was the first description of that act. Like, you know, humans doing that, and that was the first time they were using it in that context. In the Middle East.
I'm gonna have to update
everything.
I'm gonna have to update the theme song to "Terrorism Us." It'll be right after Cherry Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Let's finish this bad boy.
Radical Islamic groups have hated the West and Israel in particular for decades. Do you remember 9/11? That wasn't because of Israel's actions.
Actually, it was
because of radical ideology.
I mean, I'm not saying it's the only reason, but Osama bin Laden explicitly stated it as one of the reasons. I'm not saying that's not blaming Israel for 9/11, but that's saying what she is saying here is absolutely wrong. The idea that she's just saying that it's not true.
And it was because of radical ideologies. Where do radical ideologies come from? What are they a response to?
Yes. Oh my God.
That preach hatred and violence, suggesting that Israel's self-defense is to blame for terrorism, shifts the responsibility away from the terrorists. This isn't just twisted, it's actually incredibly dangerous. It gives radicals a free pass while shaming Israel for protecting its own people. And here's how the whole segment ends.
We all know how dangerous free radicals are.
Yes, we do. Don't let go, I got Hamas up in me. I'm sorry.
When Israel says it's over, it ends when Netanyahu says it's over.
That's right.
Really? It ends when Israel says it ends. How about mentioning the fact that Hamas has rejected dozens of ceasefire offers?
No,
or that they are
that's not
still
a
holding
fact.
100 innocent hostages? This war doesn't end because Hamas refuses to stop firing rockets, refuses to stop using civilians as human shields, and refuses to release the innocent hostages. Hamas started this war, and if they wanted to, they could end it
Her
now.
eyes are like, it's like that Vince McMahon meme, you know, where he goes from just normally kind of
to
global laser ray,
like Simpson eyes.
Yeah.
Dude. So like
0 to Simpson.
The ending that video with trying to refute the idea that Netanyahu could have a ceasefire at any point and that he holds the keys to it. Trying to refute that is hilarious right now on today when a ceasefire is happening, and it is, it is both the United States and Israel who have the power to end this war. It's always been the case. Hamas has agreed to multiple different frameworks, and it has been rejected by Israel every single time. And in fact,
the ceasefire. Someone read the ceasefire terms very closely.
Yes.
I forget who it was, but DropSite reported it.
Yeah, Jeremy Scahill, I believe.
And Mohammed Shahada, I think. And the terms of this ceasefire are almost verbatim exactly what they were back in May.
Yes, from Scahill, he quoted, important to note, the Gaza, quote, ceasefire deal that may be reached, this was tweeted a couple days ago, is overwhelmingly consistent with the deal Hamas officially agreed to on July 2nd. Biden allowed Netanyahu to torch that deal and continue the genocide with a steady flow of U.S. weapons and political support. This is just the facts. And the truth is this ceasefire was one that Ismail Haniyeh was working on when he was assassinated. This is Hamas's political leader. He was assassinated in Iran trying to get this deal done. And then ever since
Not an excuse, man. Oh, the dog ate my homework. Oh, I got blown up by an Israeli drone.
The dog ate my homework and my entire body, and then also a small office in Tehran.
Yeah.
That fucking crazy dog. That's hungry. Someone should have fed that dog. But yeah, it's this is a deal that is essentially almost the exact same deal that was floated in July, and it just did not happen. In fact, as soon as the assassination happened, we just didn't hear anything about a ceasefire for like months and months up until Trump won, and then all of a sudden it became a priority. And anyways, the point is that
Ben Gvir has been boasting, "Oh, I've been blocking this thing for,
yes.
For political reasons for a year."
Yes, Ben Gvir admits to preventing hostage deal on numerous occasions. I mean, this is just it's been so well documented that people, they can still make videos and people go like, "Yeah, what she said, that's right." Anyways, the point is that she's wrong and we're right, and I am very hopeful, if not a little bit cynical and skeptical, but hopeful that there is a ceasefire.
Let's enjoy the relief, and let's send
a lot of love and hope and good vibes.
Celebration while it can last.
Yes. And sending good vibes to you, Mr. Watts, Mr. Reggie Watts. The fact that you would come on this podcast means the world to us. Thank you so much for doing it.
I'll come back anytime. You guys are awesome to talk to.
You are. Where can people find your work online? Plugs.
In the city of Reggie Watts.
I would say...
I've never seen someone do an
That was a good Roger Chapman impression.
Yeah, or that was a vocoder. You did like a vocoder without a vocoder. That was wild.
Yeah. But, you got to pass the time.
You're very talented. That's all I'm saying.
You got to pass the time.
Hell yeah.
Thanks.
Do you have a website?
I don't. I mean, I think I do have a website, but I don't know if it works anymore. But I think it was being worked on. But yes, you can find me on Instagram at Reggie Watts. You can find me on. I don't really do Twitter anymore, but I do. My Twitter is at Reggie Watts. TikTok is at Reggie Watts 23, I think. And so everyone's just gonna switch to VPNs. So I don't know why everyone's tripping.
Yeah.
But it's just like stupid. It's just like what they did with the porn shit, in certain states. Like, well, you can't, if you're not over 18, you can't access this or whatever the age thing. And then people are just like, VPN. Okay, back to the thing. Like, what the fuck? Anyways.
Yeah.
They find me there, and then I have music like on all the streaming things, and I have a Christmas record that I released like last Christmas. Got like 3 songs on it, and there's like all kinds of stuff. Stuff's on vinyl too. Yeah, most of the things, if anything I release on Brain Feeder generally is on vinyl. I don't know if the Christmas record would be on vinyl, although it would be cool if there was a 45, because that would be such a perfect 45.
Yeah.
But that's there. And then I have a comedy special on Veeps called Nevermind that you can watch. And I have a book out, an autobiography out, so check that out. It's just called Great Falls, Montana, the title of it.
Oh yeah.
And then
is that where you're from?
Yeah.
You're from Montana? That's so amazing.
Yeah. The greatest of falls.
Yeah.
I'm from all of those places where people fall. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that stuff. And then I have a podcast eventually too. That's gonna
Hell yeah.
I think it's just gonna be called The Reggie Show.
That's a good title. I like it. Well,
do you guys like it?
I mean, it's your Reggie, and it's your show.
You could also call it Regicide, which also means the killing of a king.
Oh, to kill a king.
That's good. That's right, to kill a king. Yeah. Oh, that's sick.
That is sick.
Welcome to the Regicide.
Yeah. Well, we'll have links to all of that in the description. But once again, Reggie Watts, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. Reporting for duty. Always available for you.
Patreon.com/badhasbara, badhasbara@gmail.com. Email us with your questions, comments, or concerns. We'll read them someday. All right, everyone. Thanks again so much for listening. And until next time.
I'm going to let Reggie do this one. Reggie, all you have to do is make this rhyme, okay? Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free falling.
That was beautiful.
Jumping jacks was us. Push-ups was us. Krav Maga us. All karate us. Taking Molly us. Michael Jackson us. Yamaha keyboards us. Jar Jar Binks on us. Andor was us. Heath Ledger Joker us. Endless Breadsticks us.